Hey all, Hipper here, and welcome to the channel. It's been a while, but I've been away. So I thought that I would start off again here in, once I was back, by actually doing a ship that I don't do that many videos on, but that I actually enjoy a lot to play. And it's the Graf Spee here, and I'm actually using an Agile build on the ship, as you can see, because I'm turning really quickly in this big, huge ship here. And I always like the ship here. It is a bit, like special, but in standard game modes, it's not the best ship. But when you're playing the more special modes like 1 versus 1s and stuff like that, it's a very powerful ship. But in standard, it's good, and I like it with an agile build because it means I can turn the turrets very quickly, and I can get both turrets into action more often than with a normal build, because you only got 6 barrels with this ship here, right? So the more you can twist and turn your actual hull to get that second rear turret into the fight, the better, because you will increase your firepower by 50%. And the firepower in this ship here is enormous. It's got very close to what is Scharnhorst guns, but it is a cruiser, and you got a fairly long reload. But as I'll show you here, you also have excellent torpedoes, and because you can turn so quickly, see how I totally outturned the Derflinger here. You can get them actually into action and use them very, very well. And I mean, it's a pretty awesome ship, really, and it's also special. It's out of the ordinary. There's really no ship like it in the game. So in this video here, I'm playing the black version, or the B version, but it's really completely identical to the standard version with the standard camo, so it doesn't really matter which one you pick up. Like I said, the guns are battleship guns, give or take. I mean, they're Scharnhorst guns, so if you consider those battleship's guns, then yes, you have battleship guns. So let's just call them battleship guns, right? And like I said, they aren't exactly Scharnhorst guns, but they are 99.9 similar. And I'm having a great time with these, because you can really really punish people with these guns here. And another thing is that it's actually quite a nasty ship for battleships to go up against, and that's one of my main criticisms here down at tier 5. I think battleships are still too powerful down here, and cruisers are by far the weakest, because you don't really have any cruisers other than Budioni down here with a radar. So destroyers just have a field day. I mean, less so lately, when carriers are pretty much always present at tier 5. So that balances it out a bit. But before carriers, like, a good destroyer player could just totally rule anything below tier 6, really. And that's still kind of the case here, I think. And battleships, they haven't been reined in at all. Like, play something like Hierga down here at tier 5 and you will just absolutely dominate, because all the cruisers are pretty much just here to feed battleships. That's what they do. And that's why I like the Graf Spee, because although it's not super tanky or anything like that, like these guns here can bite back. And as you saw with torpedoes earlier, if you can get close enough, it's also a really nasty ship to deal with. So you don't have to be so concerned with concealment and all the boring stuff like in other cruisers down here at tier 5, because you can actually, you're a threat as pretty much the only cruiser, I think. And that is and still will be one of my big criticisms with the lower tiers, is that the utility, utilities is what cruisers do, right? But you just don't get access to a lot down here. And what you do get access to is pretty bad. Except for the sonar here on Spee, it's actually very good. It's I believe it's 5.6 kilometers, so make sure you actually use it, because it's super powerful down here at the lower tiers. But to make the gameplay a little bit more nuanced down here at tier 5, I think that Wargaming should have, and obviously they're not going to do it because the game isn't balanced for it. But instead of removing consumables like radar almost entirely from tier 5 and downwards, just give cruisers where it makes sense, give them a radar, but limit the radius of the radar, right? So instead of having a 10-kilometer radar, down here you have 6-kilometer, for example. And it just gives cruisers more purpose, because that's one of my problems down here. I don't really know what I'm supposed to do in the cruisers other than do damage, and that gets fairly boring very quickly. And that's why I don't really play these lower tiers that much. I mean, 5 I do play once in a while, but 4 I never play, and anything below 4, absolutely not. So tier 5 I play occasionally, tier 7 I play a lot, and legendary I play a lot. Those are the 3 tiers I play, and that's pretty much it. Tier 8 once in a while, I guess, but not very often. Another problem here is that you don't get the stuff like legendary mods and all that cool stuff that you actually have, you know, available up at tier 7. And again, it just limits the what you can do here, really. And it's, you know, it makes the gameplay not boring, but less nuanced as it is at tier 7. And, you know, that's a problem. And because it keeps players out of tier 5, especially people like me, because I just get too bored. Like anything where it's just about doing damage, just about, you know, speccing into damage and sitting around trying to citadel ships, it gets fairly boring fairly quickly, and I just can't keep doing it. I have to have some sort of purpose other than doing damage. So we're slowly whittling down the red team here. Now I have a whole division of battleships here with me, and you know, fairly average performance from them. But we still have 2 destroyers left on the red team, and this is what I said in the beginning here. If you're a destroyer down here and you don't have a carrier, I mean, what is the threat? Like, there is there's no ship down here that can handle a destroyer. So if destroyers don't win, it's because the destroyer players are crap, really. And that's just the way it is. And that's a shame, and it's probably not going to change, and nothing we can do about that. So now these battleships here are going for the cap, right? And we still have cruiser, so I'm asking him to protect the base, and then I will do my best to keep these guys here from getting torped, because again, the destroyers are just holding all the cards here, like 3 battleships, and they have to sit in the cap. They're just going to be sitting ducks completely. So I have to get in front of them if I'm, you know, allowed to, because obviously I don't know why this guy wouldn't let me in front, because he's just sailing straight into a sea of torpedoes, and it would be a good thing to have a cruiser up front spotting the torpedoes. So we're going to try to overtake him now, and then I have my sonar back in 1.5 minutes, and then it will almost last the remaining part of the battle, right? So that's my plan. I just want to get in front of the battleships here, spot torpedoes, keep them from sinking, and then hopefully they'll be able to you know, grab the cap at some point. So someone just left the cap right there. You saw it was contested. So the destroyers will be somewhere on the right side there, and they're just waiting for the battleship to move in to you know, torp them. So we're gonna try to push them as far away from the cap as we possibly can to protect the battleships, right? Because yeah, sure, I could you know, sail down to the other half of the cap and just hide behind the battleships, and you know, it may win. I may be the last ship left, and then I'll have a sonar to protect myself. But I think I'll probably have a better chance winning this by just, you know, sitting in front of the battleships, using my sonar to screen for torpedoes, and then hopefully they'll just make it, really. Now, of course, I will most likely get sunk at some point during this maneuver here, because I'm going to be target number 1. I'm not going to have anyone to, you know, warn me about torpedoes, and it's you know, I gotta trust my sonar. But it'll be back in 7 seconds here, and then it'll last for, you know, a few minutes at least, and that should be enough to get us the victory here. So we gotta make sure these guys here don't start opening fire, and I don't know why the battleships keep pushing, because that's really annoying. Because obviously the whole point here is that I'm in front and I screen for them. But if they start pushing ahead of me, then they're just gonna get sunk. So luckily he starts turning now, but I was thinking, what are you doing? So I'm gonna go forward more and just try to spot the torps before they actually sink anyone. And there's obviously a large pile there for me, and like I said, I'm going to sink from this because I cannot keep doing this forever, and I just narrowly escaped there. But if I can just keep the destroyers at bay for another minute and 10 seconds, that should be enough. So this Gepard here, it looks like he is like getting too far ahead, which is good. That's what we want. I want them so far ahead that their guns cannot reach the battleship, so they cannot reset them, right? And we got a fire on that one. That was excellent. So that's the whole point. So I'm just going to sit here at the edge of the cap and screen for torpedoes, and hopefully that will push the destroyers so far away that they cannot reset the battleships with their guns, right? At least they'll have to flank me then, and I guess they could, but there's not really much I can do about that. I can't be everywhere at the same time. And now the battleships are actually being smart. See what they're doing. They're sitting on the opposite end of the cap, and they should be out of destroyer gun range now, so they cannot be reset. And I'm here. I'll screen for torpedoes as long as I'm alive, and they're probably also out of torp range now, actually. So someone taking a shot there. He's trying to reset me because I'm the closest ship, and there's torps incoming as well. But my sonar is going to die now, so this is probably the last set of torps I'll be able to spot. And just got a fire going on me there, so I'm just trying to live long enough, really. But I'm getting bullied here, and it's just a matter of time. But with less than a minute left to cap, it should be doable. So yeah, sacrifice yourself for the battleships. But with 3 battleships left, I don't think they'll be able to sink all 3 in a minute and 40 seconds. So we should be safe here. So that's what you do as a cruiser, right? You you go where you need it, you do what you have to do, and hopefully most of the time that's doing something other than doing damage, because that's fairly boring. So 3 kills, 80,000 damage. It's not an amazing game by any means in Graf Spee here, but we did win, and we did play our cruiser role, and did fairly well. So Spee, if you don't have it, I would suggest you buy it, actually, because it's just so different from anything else in the game, and I think that's fun. So I hope you enjoyed it, and see you out there.